Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a DFS review video for the 2021 United States Open where Jon Rahm is your winner. Now, before I get further into the video, I want to remind you guys there are timestamps in the description below. Those timestamps can also be found on YouTube's progress bar. All you got to do is hover over the progress bar. You'll find the exact things I'll be covering at the exact time. But to summarize, I'm going to be doing a recap of this tournament, just talking to you about the top 10 golfers in the field. Looking at a optimal lineup versus Millie Maker lineup, just to see if we could have done a little bit better and taken down a Millie Maker lineup. We'll go to Sweet Spot rank, see how well that did with golfers inside the top 10. We'll also look at Time Pairings, because I did talk in the strategy video, I called them anchor Time Pairings. So pairings that I wanted at least one golfer in. So we'll look at that, see how well that did, and then review the entire bucket system. Well, we'll look at the important things of the bucket system to see how well it did this week. So you can find those timestamps in the description below. Let's go ahead and recap this tournament. Jon Rahm is your winner. This marks his 6th PGA Tour victory, but his first ever major championship win. And it's only fitting because he won here at Torrey Pines. This is the site of his first ever PGA Tour victory. The coverage also talked about how comfortable he is here. He proposed to his wife just outside at the state park, the Torrey Pines State Park. A lot of things, just narrative based, were pointing towards Rahm winning this thing, even including the Memorial Tournament that he was forced to withdraw because of COVID-19. He talked a little bit about how he was a firm believer in karma, and he knew something was good, or something good was going to happen to him because of what transpired at Memorial Tournament. And I think just the belief that he had in himself to go along with, holding his head up high, staying positive throughout the whole thing. I mean, he rode that hot hand from Memorial all the way here. He looked solid Thursday through Sunday. To me, it felt like, he didn't really have a lot of putts to save par. I mean, it didn't seem that way, and maybe the coverage just didn't show it, but it looked like he missed more birdie putts than he had to make par putts, which just means you're in control of your game. And I firmly believe that. I didn't see a lot of round 4, which is kind of disappointing because that's where all the drama happens. I did see like Rahm's first 4 holes, and he just looked in command. Like I shouldn't say in command. He looked in control of his game. We were missing a couple birdie putts, but all in all, he just looked solid week in, week out. And for me, he was the odds-on favorite to win this thing. He was number 1 ranked in my model. We'll get into that. But yeah, a lot of good things with Rahm. I had him in 20% of my lineups, but unfortunately, I only had 1 6-6. So even with him in my lineups, I wasn't winning a lot of money. The rest of the top 10 looked, this is all we could hope for. A lot of elite golfers up here, a lot of golfers who usually finish inside the top 10, including Louis Oosthuizen, who I believe now has been top, he's been a runner-up finish in all the major championships, at least once. I know he won the British Open, but this just marks another second-place finish for him. I'm not going to talk about the rest of the top 10 golfers now. What I want to do is, the bucket system analyzes the top 10 of any given tournament in a given week. And with that analysis, it's just using the cold, hard numbers. It's not telling the story of how golfers got inside the top 10. We'll come back here to the top 10, but I want to talk about Bryson DeChambeau. So Bryson was, he was tied for the lead at one point in time. He was 5 under. You can see he finished 3 over. Now, towards the beginning of the back 9, he started to falter a little bit. I believe he birdied hole 9, which was a par 5. And I believe he bogeyed 10. Either he bogeyed 10 or he bogeyed 11. But he ended up coming to hole 13, which is a par 5. And during his tee shot, his foot slipped. His right foot, his back foot slipped. Now, he made good contact with it. I don't know exactly how far he hit it in comparison to where he typically does. But he still had a shot to go for the green in 2, which he did try, ended up putting into a bunker. And from there, proceeded to hit some really bad chip shots and finished with a 7 on a par 5. So he double bogeyed it. Obviously, this leaderboard isn't going to show that. But also, the rest of the holes that followed, he played atrociously. I know he had another double, but he may have had 2 more doubles, or a double and a triple. Something happened. Obviously, hole 13 caused it. The announcers even said that a lot of golfers had been slipping on that tee box. So that wasn't an uncommon thing. So I'm not going to blame Bryson's, his full impact or full speed golf swing. Like I'm not going to criticize it because a lot of other golfers before him were slipping on that tee box as well. Unfortunately, Bryson, who was in contention deep into round 4, well, at least through the mid part of round 4, fell to 26th place. Obviously, that's what happens at the US Open, but the top 10 leader, when I analyze the top 10 week in, week out, it's not going to tell this story. So I just wanted to point that out. Dustin Johnson tripled hole 10 and then really didn't make any birdies coming in from there, but he was at one point in time 3 under par throughout round 4. So obviously he fell back down a little bit too. I don't know exactly what happened with this game. I really liked him coming into this week. 19th place. He's going to have that top 20 finish the week before. So obviously when we look at the Travelers Championship, it's going to look like he had a good finish at the US Open, but this is pretty subpar for where he was at the start of the day. Justin Thomas, I think, was 1 under to start the tournament and got it to -3. He had like 2 birdies right away. And it looked like he was like, getting into that scorer's mentality of what Justin Thomas usually does. But obviously he fell back to earth a little bit too. Spieth, I think, got it to 1 under, but obviously fell to 2 over. And I'm not going to talk about the rest of the guys, but Matthew Wolff is one that I do want to highlight because he surprised all of us. If you recall, I think it was during the strategy video, maybe the bucket system video, but I said, I just don't trust Matthew Wolff. I think his game has been struggling because of something mentally, which obviously we discovered during the telecast that he'd been battling mental health issues. I don't know if he was battling depression or what was going on, but he talked out about mental health. Now, I don't want this to sound insensitive or anything, but when you're investing your own money, like, it would be foolish to invest your money into somebody who has, mental health issues. You can obviously cheer for him, root him on. If you want to put your money towards that, that's perfectly fine. But when I said that, I don't want that to come off as insensitive. It just seems like a common sense thing. It would be like also putting your money on Bubba Watson. We don't know where he is mentally week in and week out. We can always be fans, don't get me wrong, but I didn't want to put a lot of money on Wolff because I just didn't trust him. And I was almost proven silly. My 1-6-6 lineup had Matthew Wolff in it because I played the numbers. If I'm making 100 lineups, I don't mind owning 1% of him. I think that's worth the risk, but I'm not going to put him in 15% of my lineups. So, unfortunately, didn't win money with that one because that was in a winner-take-all. I ended up finishing 4th in that one. But yeah, it was a good surprise to see Matthew Wolff up there. And I think having fans back is going to help him because that was kind of the discussion before with everyone in the industry was the lack of fans is probably what's been, bogging him down. And perhaps it is, getting those cheers from the fans, little pep talks or whatever can obviously elevate somebody's peace of mind. So perhaps, having fans back will really help Matthew Wolff. Russell Henley is another one to talk about. He was 5 under. He was tied for the lead when the tournament started. He obviously fell back. It looks like a lot of the average scores were like 5 over par for some of these guys here at the top. So unfortunately for Henley, I was a huge fan. I owned him in quite a bit. I think I had him in like 12% of my lineups. I did like Russell Henley this week. But unfortunately, he fell to grace. Francesco Molinari, another golfer. I don't even know if we really heard much about him on the telecast. That's a sneaky, 13th place finish, even par. Going forward, hey, Francesco Molinari, do not sleep on him anymore. I know he did have a good finish at the PGA Championship, I think it was. So he's playing some good golf. I think definitely keep your eye on him, especially if he's in the $7,000 price range like he was this year or for this week. A good value there. And then the top 10, we couldn't ask for anything more. Rory McIlroy there. I liked Rory this week. Scotty Scheffler, didn't really talk much about him, but obviously a high-quality golfer. Loved Xander a lot. Paul Casey just seemed like a slam dunk play at $7,800 or $79. Daniel Berger, didn't really talk much about him. He was at 84, which is kind of an in-between price range that I'd be comfortable playing him at, but obviously finishing here 7th place, it's really good. Colin Morikawa, Brooks Koepka, Louis Oosthuizen, and Jon Rahm. I don't really have to talk about those guys. They show up in a lot of these major championships. There's no surprise there. For me, Brandon Grace, I never really thought much about Brandon Grace. Primarily because he's a short ball hitter, and I thought, at this tournament, you either have to be like completely on your game if you're a short ball hitter, or you have no shot. And I didn't look at Brandon Grace's stats, but obviously he was one of those guys that had his game on, at his top. So good to see him at 7th place. Harris English, we found during the telecast that he's been battling a back injury. This was at the Palmetto, I believe. Never mind, not this one. But we found out that he was battling a back injury since after the Tournament of Champions, where he won that tournament. So it's good to know that he's kind of, pardon the pun, but back. Back to playing his old game, his own game. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's obviously the back injury must be behind him. He's put some good finishes together lately, so going forward, Harris English, not a bad play either. And then the biggest surprise to me would be Guido. Migliozzi. I don't like to play a lot of European Tour players who have zero PGA Tour experience, primarily because they never really show up inside the top 10. Obviously here, we have one instance that did. I'm not disappointed, or let's put it this way, I don't feel bad for not playing anybody that came from the European Tour. I'm going to keep doing that. That's a good strategy to have. He's one golfer of 12 golfers that's inside the top 10. I think we can probably create lineups without him in it, but when we go into the next portion of it, you're going to see he's part of the optimal lineup. So let's go ahead and get right into that. The Millie Maker lineup, we're just going to talk about the Millie Maker lineup first. It scored 463 points. It used up $49,500, and everyone here highlighted in blue is part of that Millie Maker lineup. Louis Oosthuizen, Harris English, Colin Morikawa, Paul Casey, Xander Schauffele, and Brian Harman. This guy went pretty balanced. He had 2 9K golfers, an 8K golfer, and 3 7K golfers. He did not have the winner, Jon Rahm, in that lineup. Now, again, it only scored 463 points, which is actually pretty darn good, considering the optimal lineup scored 492 points. So there's a 29-point difference there. I've seen the difference between Millie Makers and Optimals be over 100. So this was really close. And usually we kind of get that in these major championships because DraftKings pricing is pretty soft. And I think most of us can get some pretty decent lineups that get really close to the optimal lineup. Either way, 29-point difference. The golfers that were in the optimal lineup are those with the black tick mark here. So we have Mackenzie Hughes that finished 15th, so not inside the top 10. Guido, which again, we just talked about. He's $6,800. Colin Morikawa, Harris English, Louis Oosthuizen, and Jon Rahm are the other golfers inside that optimal lineup. Again, $492, used up $49,600. So I always like to look at realistic optimal lineups that are over $49,000. This obviously is a realistic optimal lineup, and it ends up being the optimal lineup. The only thing I would say, is there a way we can skip Guido and try to fit everybody else inside the top 10 and still beat the Millie Maker lineup? Well, let's take a look. So we can grab here. We need probably Grace. I don't think we can. I mean, Paul Casey would have to be 1. This is 50,100. Yeah, so we would have to grab Guido in order to make it happen. Yeah, there's no other way. So I don't have enough salary to fit anybody else inside that top. Yeah, okay. So we would have to go Rom, Usti, English, Guido, probably Paul Casey. So this is 48,500. We could probably do better than this. Can we grab Morikawa? I think so. No. I had done this right before this. Now I can't remember who the actual golfer I had. I know I need Guido. Okay. There we go. I'm sorry. So this lineup here would include everybody inside the top 10. And that was $49,800. And the points scored there is 481. So obviously just less than the optimal by 11 points, but still would beat that Millie Maker lineup pretty easily. And that would have been 11, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6. So interesting way to create an optimal lineup. Your original optimal lineup, again, we had an 11K golfer, a 9K, 8K, 7, 7. I grabbed one. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. Let's restart that. 11, 8, or 11, 9, 8, 7, 6, 6. So a little unconventional from normal optimal lineups that we see, but still 10K and above. That was definitely one golfer we were looking for. When we get in the buckets, you'll see we wanted a 10K golfer, we wanted a 9K golfer, and obviously that paid off. Those were they were part of the anchor buckets. And again, we'll get to that. But I want to go from here and go right into the SweetSpot score. Now, I don't remember the difference between the two scores. One included recent form and tournament history, and the other one did not include either. I think if we're looking at recent form, let me just double check really quickly. So Rahm would have had poor recent form. I believe Dustin Johnson was our number 1 ranked golfer. So I think when we take recent form out, let's put it this way. Jon Rahm was either, I did 2 rankings. You'd have to go back to the strategy video. I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly how it went. And I can't figure it out because I sorted this wrong. Like the score that I have somehow didn't get sorted with. So like, yeah, I can already tell that this wasn't sorted properly because DJ would have this official World Golf ranking. So I unfortunately didn't sort it correctly. So I can't tell based off the scores which one is which. But I believe Jon Rahm, if you included recent form, he's number 1 ranked. I took recent form out as well as tournament history. Jon Rahm becomes the 2nd ranked golfer. DJ was my number 1 ranked golfer. But either way, Rahm was either 1 or 2 in the model. He ended up winning the tournament. As much as I want to look at this, I'm only looking at top 10. There are 158 golfers in the field. I want everybody inside the top 10 to be at least in the bottom 50 percentile. So basically ranked 1 to obviously the halfway point to 158 or 156, which would be 78. I want all my golfers to be ranked under 78. So if we start with this ranking and go down to the top 10, I'm just going to X out the only golfer that wasn't under that 50 percentile. And that was Guido. Obviously, we needed Guido in the optimal lineup, so I'm not getting there, unfortunately, with the SweetSpot score because he was ranked above that. So either I need to work on that SweetSpot score to get all these golfers in, or just face the facts that sometimes golfers outside that threshold are going to finish top 10, which is kind of where I'm getting at. And then if we did the other ranking, again, Guido's the only one that doesn't. And in fact, I believe taking recent form and tournament history out, yeah, that must be it because Guido wouldn't have either, and that's why he'd be ranked better. Taking that out, that was probably your better rankings. I'm getting better ranked golfers in here. Well, it changes slightly. Let's see. Let me get the total of all of this. That's 300 on the button, and this is 307. So if I include the recent form and tournament history, that's where we get it. Okay, so looking at SweetSpot Score, that was the best way. Now, one thing I want to do is look at tee time pairings. And what I'm going to do is go by the color, the fill color here, and go to this darker green color, because these are where the anchor lineups, or the anchor tee time pairings, as I like to call it, come from. So if I sort this, the game, which is obviously the tee time pairings, together, what I kind of want to see, what I've been seeing usually, is at least one golfer from each of these pairings finishes inside the top 10. So let's go ahead. Of this one, we have 2, Collin Morikawa and Koepka. So that very first group did. The second group, however, did not. If you recall, Viktor Hovland withdrew because he, while practicing before round 2, had a grain of sand lodged into his eye that required so much pain, or that caused so much pain, it required him to withdraw. So that's why we see Viktor Hovland up here with a withdrawal. So this lineup did not have a top 10 finisher. The next one did, though. Xander, Phil, Max Homa. I was on Xander. Hopefully you guys were too. The next one was Berger, Finau, Answer. I wasn't on Berger. Answer was my guy. And obviously Answer did not play well. Kind of with, like, when we get in our tunnel vision, as I would call it, obviously I liked Answer the best, but that shouldn't take away from the fact that Berger, Finau could have done just as well. Obviously, Finau missed the cut. I didn't have a lot. I didn't play him a lot. The buckets just didn't point me in his direction. And I didn't play a lot of Berger. I played some, but not a lot. Most of my ownership went to Answer, so that was unfortunate. Next one, Scotty, Spieth, and Zalatoris. I went Zalatoris out of this group. I faded Spieth for the most part. He was my lowest owned 10K golfer. And then I really didn't own much of Scotty Scheffler, so shame on me. Next group, Rory, DJ, and Rose. There you go with Rory. The group after that, Rahm, Reed, Leishman. There we go with Rahm. And then we have Louis, Cantlay, and Sungjae. Now, the reason these groups are highlighted have to do with 2 things. One is their average DraftKings points and their average scoring average had to be better than field average. Along with that, their sweet spot rank had to be under 100 cumulatively. So each golfer in that group, their sweet spot rank added together with the other 2 golfers in it had to be under 100. That's how we get there. Every group, except for one, had a golfer inside the top 10. We could have easily found our anchor plays from these golfers. Now, don't get me wrong. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 groups that we talked about. 7 out of 8 groups had a top 10 finisher. If we're creating lineups that way and we're trying to figure out who our anchor plays are, or if we wanted exposure to all of them with different combinations, I can tell you one thing: it's way over 100 different starting points you can start with. So if you were to do permutations, you would take all the golfers in all of these groups, and basically you would start with 3 times whatever. I don't even remember how many so 8 times what? 3? So we have 24 different golfers here. So you basically would go 3 times 24, and then 2 times 23, and then add 22 to that. That's how many different lineups you can have. So it's well over 100. And even then, you're only getting one instance where you might get the right combination together. So you might get the one Jon Rahm and Collin Morikawa lineup. Obviously, those 2 golfers were in the optimal lineup. It's really the only way. You just have the one instance that would actually work. And then you need to get the other 4 golfers to finish inside the top 10. So that would be pretty hard to do. Now, hey, if you looked at this during the strategy video and you were like, well, I already liked Rahm. I was kind of iffy between Brooks or Morikawa. Well, if I do Rahm, I can actually add Morikawa. Maybe that's how you get to that optimal lineup. Now, if we were, again, being a little bit more critical here, do you get to Guido at $6,800? You probably don't, right? You probably go to some other 6K golfer, which, if we look, maybe it's Mackenzie Hughes. Maybe it is Mackenzie Hughes. Outside of that, though, I don't know. We don't have any other 6K golfer that's inside the top 20. We do have some low 7K golfers. Maybe that helps. I mean, can we even create a lineup with some of these low 7K? So if we went with these guys and we skipped Guido, can we go here and then Mac? Yeah, so that's 50,000 on the button. So yeah, we could have done something like this. We could even go from Grace to Molinari or even to Henley. That would have worked. Would it have beat the Millie Maker lineup? 481.5, 460. Yeah, so we would have beat that pretty easy. Yeah, so I mean, we could have gotten there easy. Henley and Hughes is not far off of what some of the plays I had. Like, I did play a lot of Henley, but I usually played it with like Brendan Steele, who was $6,500, who ended up missing the cut, or some other 6K golfer that also missed the cut. So yeah, I mean, it was doable. Don't get me wrong. It was definitely doable. But for me, it's hard. I do want to play all the different combinations to try to hit the one lineup. But doing that, you still have to fill 4 other positions. And that's difficult. That's really hard to do. So to me, not a huge thing that it this is just meant for you guys to see and be like, okay, these anchor tee times, I'm going to find one of my guys there. And then you just start there. Some notable golfers we don't see. You don't see Bryson in this lineup. You see the other 10K golfers. Actually, we had, 4? I mean, we had 5 total 10K golfers. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 here. Who were the 6? Here, let me look at the summary really quick. 10K and above. Okay, so we only had 5 this week. My bad. So we only had 5 10K golfers. And 4 of the 5. So Bryson was not there. Good reason to fade Bryson, right? Maybe not. I don't have anything else to say about this. Let's go ahead and get into the anchor buckets, or just the buckets. But I'm going to start with the anchor buckets. And this is basically, I'm looking at top 5 frequencies. So every single year dating back to 2013, not 2033, 2013, there's been at least one instance of these buckets over here finishing inside the top 5. Now, top 5 is a good reason to play something, right? So I'm looking at last year 1s, last week 1s, course history 2s, course history 1s, recent form 1s. So a lot of 1s, and basically all of the 1s, and then 1 course history 2. And then I'm looking at these salaries, 10K, 9K, strokes gained of 1 and 2. So let's go ahead, look at that 2021 DK page. And instead of looking at these conditionals, I just want to look at the top 10. So what I will do is just clear everybody out and only select the top 10 golfers. So we have a nice short list. I do have a screenshot of what I just saw. So I'm going to work on this. Obviously, pause the video if you want to see this too. But we are looking for a projected 3.8 last year 1s. So I always round down. So we're looking for 3 last year 1s. Do we see at least 3 last year 1s inside the top 10? We do. So you know what? I'm just going to go back to here. I'm going to go ahead and give this a, what color do I want to make this? Dark green. How about light green? Yeah, we'll make it a light green. Can you guys see that on there? Yeah. All right. So this means check mark. This works. Green is good. Red is going to be bad. So we have our 3.88. Projected, we're not looking at 10, but we want to see at least 6. Or, yeah, at least 6, if not at least 2 inside the top 5. When we take a look at our last week 1s, there's 1, 2 inside the top 5. So that obviously covers that. But we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we actually hit the projected 10, which is insane. That's kind of an easy one. There were 128 golfers in that bucket this week. Those are golfers who did not play last week. So they did not play at the Palmetto Championship. More reason to kind of skip on some of those guys that did. Now, the next one is a course history 2. Those are golfers, and this should say tournament history, but these are golfers for the U.S. Open, not for the Farmers Insurance, but the U.S. Open, who had that 20 to 40 average finishing position. We had 22 in the field. We're looking kind of a projected 3. Let's see if that ends up panning out. So course history 2s. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that hit as well. So we can go ahead and cross that off the list. I actually forgot to do it for the other one. Oh, no, I didn't. So that's green. Next one, course history 1s, that 40 to 60 range. We're looking for 5. At least 5. For me, although I always look at the minimum, this is like the set in stone number 2, but projected 5. Let's see if we get close to that. So course history 1s, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we fall 1 short of the course history 1s, but we had at least 2. I'll let you guys be the judge. I'm marking it off as a success because 5 is a hard number to get to. But we wanted at least 2. So I'm going to say that worked. Recent form 1s. We are looking for a projected 5, but a minimum of 3. So recent form 1s, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got our projected amount. So we had 5 there. So let's go ahead, give that one a cross off the bucket. We are looking for 1 10K golfer inside the top 10. I think we already know that works. So 1, 2, we had 2. So we can cross that one off as success. We want 2 9K golfers. We have 1, 2, 3. So we had 3 9K golfers. So that also we can check off. Strokes gained 1. We want a projected amount of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Strokes gained 1, for those that don't know, that is all stats positive for season-long stats. So that's off the tee, approach, around the green, putting. So all these that are 1s have positive stats for all of those categories. So that's obviously a huge check mark. But if you saw the next one, not so much. Strokes gained bucket 2, 4 golfers. We've seen a minimum of 3 inside the top 5. That one did not pan out. We just had 1. So we're going to give that one a red mark because it did not hit. So we can go ahead, open this back up, and really just look at anything that's over 1. So let's see. I don't know the easiest way to do this. I'm looking for anything that's projected over 1. So really the projection is the success rate multiplied by the golfers in that bucket this year minus 1. Because I want 1 less. Let's see, actually, how does it go? It's plus the minimum over here inside the top 5 frequency, then it's minus 1. So if this is 1 or greater, it's going to get a little bit of a boost and it's going to offset that 1. But I'm looking, that's how I ended up doing it this way. So I'm looking for anything greater than 1. Greater than or equal to 1. And really, I want to see if the rest of these end up making it, and then I'll just do by color. We'll get rid of the buckets that we just already went through. So last year 2s are actually golfers who missed the cut. I projected 2 of them. Do we have 2 last year 2s? 1, 2. So yes, we did. Brandon Grace and Colin Morikawa. So that bucket also hit. So I'm actually going to color it over here. Then we want 1 recent form 2, which is that 40 to 60. Recent form 2, John Rahm. Brooks Koepka, Brandon Grace. So recent form 2s hit. So we'll give that one a green color as well. Recent form 4s, we want 1. Recent form 4, that one did not hit. So we'll go ahead and give that one a red mark. That's unfortunate. it is noteworthy to say that there is no minimums for these, so there would be no reason to actually play recent form 4s. The projected amount is just a projection. Obviously, it didn't hit. The anchors, the locks, I should say, for buckets, this was not a lock. Salary, 7K golfers, obviously that one's going to hit. 1, 2, 3. What did we end up projecting? 2.009. So that one hit as well. So for all of those that were projected 1 or greater, it worked out pretty well. I'm not going to talk about any of the other ones. They were at 0, so what's the point? I know some of them probably did hit, but, I always round down. So these all to me are zeros. So as long as, somehow it didn't become a negative number, it hit. But I know that's kind of a cheap way to look at it. I just want to show you what the anchor buckets are to actually anchor your lineups around. That's what the whole part of this is trying to make lineup creation a little bit easier. And for our anchor buckets, they hit. So we could create lineups pretty easily that way. So actually, let's put it this way. Get into the anchor lineups. Can we actually build a lineup with these in mind? So I'm going to go ahead. Let's find our 10K golfer. Let's just say that's John Rahm. John Rahm also fulfills last week 1 of our anchor buckets, that is. A course history 1 and strokes gained bucket 1. So, we're looking for a 10K golfer. I think it's okay to start there. Looking at some other things here. So we want 3 last year ones. So we're going to go and look at our last year ones. Harris English, to me, yes. Louis Oosthuizen, yes. And in all honesty, I probably would pick Xander if I'm just looking at it from within a vacuum, but I don't know. I don't think we can get there. So I'm going to go with Paul Casey. So we have 8,000, 7, and 7. I'm going to obviously take a look to see if we can actually build lineups that way. I'm going to probably guess we can't. So this looks good. Let's go ahead and take a look at, let's find some course history 2 golfers. So actually Louis, they all do. All 3 of those guys I just picked. So course history 2s checked off the list. So we have that. We have our last year 1s. We have 3 of those. How about course history 1s? We want 5 of them. So John Rahm fits that mold. Colin Morikawa would fit that role, but we can't really play him, and we really can't play Rory McIlroy. So we already, if I had a graphic that was a big red X, I would definitely put that up right now and say we can't build lineups with all 10 golfers in here following the bucket system rules because it fails on our course history 1s. But if we wanted to select 2, can we even do that? 2 course history 1s? No. No, we cannot. So that's unfortunate. That's just how it goes sometimes. We already know we need Guido in this lineup, right? I think it was right here with Paul and Brandon. That's one way to do it, I suppose. Okay, so Scheffler, Paul Casey, and then the 4 golfers here. Most of them were last week 1s. Harris English was our only last week 2. We had some course history 1s. We had 3 course history 1s, so that obviously fulfilled. That was good. And actually, we have our course history 2 golfers there. Louis, English, Paul Casey. Obviously, course history in last year worked well. Recent form. I should say this. We have only 1 course history 1. Yeah, that was it. Recent form 1. Let's see. 1, 2. So we only had 2. If we look at that summary of recent form 1s, we wanted at least 3. So obviously we can't do it there. It just falls short. We can't follow those rules to the T. Which again makes me think about reevaluating how to do the projections for these. Because I always say this when we get into this. if there are, you know, some 10K golfers that fit those buckets, chances are multiple of those golfers in those buckets are going to be 10K and we can't own them altogether. So I wonder if we just use the minimums over here. That probably plays better. You know, if we're looking at 2 last year ones, you know, we already, like, that would be easy. Louis and Harris English. If we take last year, or did we? Okay, so last week ones. I meant 2 last week ones. So 1 last year 2, 2 last week ones, 2 last week ones, 1 last year 2, or even like Harris English. That could just fit. You know, because we probably want to take this at an individual level and not trying to find each one. So we want a course history 2 golfer. Obviously those ones fit, but we could go like Paul Casey. Like that would work for, you know, he could be our 1 course history 2. We want a course history 1 golfer. So that would probably be John Rahm. Let's take him out of the last week bucket 1 and just add Scotty Scheffler. So now I am fulfilling my buckets this way. Salary, we're not going to, you know, double cross that, but that would be Rahm. 9K would be none of those guys. I mean, I suppose we could put Colin Morikawa there, but we can't really play Casey, can we? Oh, we could put Guido there. Yeah, what am I talking? What am I thinking about? We could put Guido there. I think we get there no matter what. You know, Colin can be our 9K golfer. That's fine. I don't think we can actually play these guys right here, though. No. Okay, so obviously it's not easy, but I think a good way to do that was this. What I wish I could remember just off the top of my head. Some of this I just go through with you guys. Like I don't actually pre-plan any of this. So if I were to look, so this works, okay. We know Brandon Grace is definitely a must. We can't put, oh, we can do this. Oh, I already knew that. Okay, so we already know. Here, let me do this really quick. So last week 1, boom, got it. But we don't have a 9K golfer. But we don't have a 9K. We can't. You can't add a 9K golfer to the bucket system here and have it all work out. So like the salary portion of this just isn't going to work out if we know we need a 9K golfer. So yeah, the anchor buckets, that's not going to work. Not for this year. I'm trying to make it happen. I'm trying to make it work. Or maybe it does. This works. Okay. Holy moly. Does this beat the Millie Maker lineup? I'm sure it does. I want to double check here. Sorry for being all over the place. Again, I'm going through this with you guys for the first time. So this scores 473.5. I believe the Millie Maker lineup was what, 463. So we beat it by 10 points doing it this way. Okay, so we're just gonna go here. 10K Rahm, 9K Xander, right? Those just fit those molds. And then we want 1 last year 1. So we can go with Louis. Okay, hold on. 10 and 9 taken care of. Last year 1 taken care of. Last week 1. And of course we can obviously, you know, overlap here shouldn't be an issue, but we'll just try not to. So Guido, Brandon Grace, boom, got those covered for the last week 1s. Course history 2s. Let's see who that can be. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 golfers. So we need 1 more. We obviously know it's Harris English that we need. So course history 2, boom, Harris English. And just based off that works. But if we were to validate, we need a course history 1 golfer. We have John Rahm. We also have Brandon Grace. Okay, so it works out. I should have looked a little bit further into this. Probably did my homework before trying to record. Recent Form 1s, Harris English, Xander Schauffele, that all works out. So yeah, we could have created a lineup. I know it took a little while to get there, but we got there. Those are our 6 golfers, used up 49,900. The bucket system could have gotten us on a winning lineup. A lineup that would have beat the Millie Maker lineup. Still would have been 20 points short of the optimal lineup. So yeah, we're looking at 473.5 and the optimal lineup scored 492. So yeah, not really impressive, but still would have beat the Millie Maker lineup if we would have went that route. We would have had to have used Guido, which the other buckets not particularly good with, using Guido. But if you want that lottery ticket, that would have been a good play. Okay. So I don't think... Oh, the last thing I want to go through is I'm going to do this really quick. We're not going to spend a lot of time. I'm going to look at every important stat that I think we all would look at. And I'm going to look at the top 20 golfers of each of those stats in the field. So we're going to start with US Open tournament history. Some people don't care for this stat, but really what I want you guys to focus on is this column here. Look at how many different top 10, top 20 finishes there are compared to missed cuts, to try to find a consistent one, a consistent stat that we should look at, or perhaps a volatile one that we probably still want to target in the future to try to find, more golfers inside the top 10. So looking at US Open tournament history, we have 3 golfers that finished top 10, a plethora of missed cuts, withdraws, but I mean, all together, the green and red, it looks pretty good. That looks like a volatile one, a volatile stat to look at, but still a good one. How about Farmers Insurance? This was played at Torrey. Yeah, we have 4 golfers that finished top 10 that were top 20 of the stats. So that is not a terrible one. How about POA Grass? Looking at top 20 POA golfers, that was huge. Look at how many finished inside the top 10. That's nuts. Even if I scroll down, this is actually our 20th golfer down here, but he's not top 10. He's top 20. Still a lot of missed cuts, but like Taylor Pendrith, he shouldn't even be up here because he only has 1 event under his belt. Victor Hovland had to withdraw because of, a grain of sand in his eye. And then we have some notable, missed cuts like Tyrrell Hatton, Finau, Kuchar, Rose. Matt Wallace isn't really notable, but just throwing that out there. Looking at our top 10, really the success rate, and I'm just going to delete that. Lots of top 20 finishes here. Not a bad top 10 representation. So POA just all together, how about 2021? Yeah, it was okay. Pretty fair mix there. So yeah, POA Grass looked pretty good. I'm going to scroll all the way over. I guess we can look at recent form average. That's fine. Recent form, not really. That's the last 7 weeks, average finishing position. I mean, we have 2nd place, 4th place, 7th place golfers that were in the optimal lineup, so that worked out. Your best off the tee golfers, I would say that's more of a successful stat to look at here, and I think you want to look at that at every US Open, so that looks good. Approach, that also looks really good. You have your winner, you have a good mix of, missed cuts and top 10, top 20s, but more top 10, top 20s. Around the green, not bad. Louis up there. He's our only top 10 golfer. Putting, Louis. So our short game specialists, we need one on our team. Maybe we should look at this as like a scramble team. We're putting together a scramble team. We want a short game specialist. Louis is our guy. Xander was up there, and so is Daniel Berger. So those are all the stats that I care to look at. I have some miscellaneous stats like driver distance. Wow. Whoa. This is our most successful one so far. When we look at, there were only 4 missed cuts. Okay. Driving distance. Gotcha. How about driving accuracy? Nope. Good drive percentage. Yeah, it was okay. Green and reg percentage. No. Proximity? It was okay. 1 putt percentage. Nope. Well, It's not terrible. How about one putt percentage between 5 to 10 feet? Louis up there, so is Colin Morikawa. 10 to 15 feet? Louis, McIlroy, Schauffele. Okay, not great. Bogey avoidance. Yeah, that's not terrible. Bogey avoidance wasn't bad. Birdie or better, that was good. So we use these two stats in our model and end up working out. So that's no surprise to see the sweet spot rank look pretty good inside the top 10. So hey, I think that's a good stat to continue to go forward with. So with all that being said, that's every stat. I have nothing else to talk about. Thank you guys for watching all the way up to here. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the Travelers preview video tomorrow. All right, bye.